For the final interview, they returned to Hana's studio. But Rixtal brought something unexpected. A sealed case containing classified military documents. He set it on the table between them with a heavy sound. "These documents will get me arrested," he said quietly. "Probably you too if you publish this interview. But your generation needs to know the truth, all of it. No more lies." Hana started the recording. Her hands were steady, but her heart was racing. "Tell me about the end of the war." Rixtal opened the case and pulled out several files marked with the highest security classifications. The official story says that we negotiated peace from a position of strength, that we offered generous terms to spare further bloodshed, that the humans gratefully accepted our mercy. Every word of that is a lie. The truth is that by the 8th year of the war, we were losing. Not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily and inevitably. The humans had stopped defending and started attacking. Admiral Yunji led their fleet deep into our space. Not to conquer, just to prove that nowhere was safe. He pulled out a document and showed it to Hana. "This is a strategic analysis from our high command. Look at the projections. They calculated that if the war continued, we would suffer catastrophic losses. Even if we eventually won, the cost would cripple our civilization for generations." "But why?" Hana asked. "You had superior technology, superior numbers. How could you lose?" "Because humans adapted faster than we could counter them. Every advantage we had, they neutralized. Our shield technology? They developed weapons to overload and collapse them. Our numerical superiority? General Kisung's doctrine of aggressive defense made every human world too expensive to attack. Our advanced sensors? Human stealth technology improved so fast that infiltration became standard practice." Rixtal pulled out another document. "This is an intelligence report. It says that humans were developing weapon systems that would completely eliminate our technological advantage within 5 years. 5 years. We had maybe 5 years before they caught up to us. After that, the war would be decided purely by determination and willingness to suffer, and we could never match humans in that. The humans had also industrialized warfare in ways we found incomprehensible. They could build ships faster than we could destroy them. They could train soldiers faster than we could kill them. They could replace losses in weeks that took us months, and they were willing to accept casualty rates that we considered insane." He showed her graphs and charts, numbers that told a story of slow, grinding defeat. "Look at this. Force exchange ratios. In a typical battle, we might destroy 3 human ships for every one of ours we lost. That sounds good, right? But the humans could build ships 3 times faster than us, so we were actually losing ground even when we were winning battles. This is a mathematical certainty. If you can replace losses faster than your enemy, and you are willing to accept higher casualties, you will eventually win through pure attrition." The humans understood this. Our high command finally understood it in the 8th year. Hana felt cold. Everything she had been taught was wrong. "So you sued for peace?" "We begged for peace," Rixtal corrected. "But the high command had to make it look like a victory to our people, so they sent Minister Daejung to negotiate. He was the human diplomat, and he was brilliant. He gave us exactly what we needed to save face while taking everything that mattered." "What do you mean?" "He let us say that we had won. He let us keep our territory. He even gave us some minor concessions that we could show our people as victories. But in exchange, humans got guaranteed security, trade advantages, and most importantly, a mutual defense treaty that meant we could never attack them again without facing their full strength. The terms of the treaty effectively ensure human security and prosperity for the next century. Minister Daejung negotiated a strategic victory while letting us believe we had won. It was masterful." Rixtal pulled out another file. This one made Hana's blood run cold. It was marked with warnings about weapons of mass destruction. "This is the most classified document of all. In the final months of the war, some Velkari factions proposed using planet-killer weapons against human worlds. They wanted to destroy entire planets to force human surrender. What stopped them? Human intelligence. The humans knew about the proposal before our high command even finished discussing it, and they sent a message. A very clear message. He read from the document. The humans had positioned stealth ships throughout our space. Ships carrying weapons capable of destroying entire worlds. They sent our high command exact coordinates of every major Velkari world, and they included a simple message. If you use weapons of mass destruction against any human world, we will simultaneously destroy every world on this list. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Our intelligence confirmed it. The ships were real, the weapons were real, and the humans meant it. They were not bluffing. They had prepared for mutual annihilation and were willing to execute it if we crossed that line. Hana stared at the document. They would have killed billions of people? On both sides? Yes. That is what I have been trying to make you understand. Humans are reasonable. They will negotiate. They will compromise. They will show mercy. But if you threaten their extinction, they will ensure mutual destruction. They see it as fair. If we were willing to destroy their species, they were willing to destroy ours. The High Command rejected the Planet Killer proposal immediately. They negotiated peace within a month, because they finally understood what every veteran already knew. Humans could not be intimidated. They could not be bullied. They could not be forced to surrender. The only way to end the war was to give them terms they could accept. Rixtal gathered up the documents and looked directly into the camera. Hana, your generation asks why we fear humans despite the peace. You wonder why veterans wake up screaming 3 decades later. You do not understand why the Dominion agreed to such disadvantageous treaty terms. Let me be absolutely clear. We did not lose because we were not brave enough or skilled enough. We lost because we faced an opponent who treated warfare as a science, suffering as a tactical resource, and defeat as unacceptable under any circumstances. We lost because humans simply refused to lose no matter what it cost them. We chose peace because the alternative was mutual annihilation, and the humans made it clear they were willing to accept that outcome if necessary. They did not defeat us with superior technology or numbers. They defeated us with something far more terrifying. Absolute conviction. They would rather burn the galaxy down than lose. And after 8 years of fighting them, every veteran knows the most frightening truth of all. They meant it. He stood slowly. I have given you everything. The truth about the war. Evidence of our lies. Proof that we did not win. What you do with this information is up to you. But I will tell you this. The government will try to stop you. They will threaten you. They might even arrest you. But if you have courage, you will show the world what really happened. Hana looked at the classified documents spread across the table. She looked at the old warrior who had trusted her with the truth. She thought about her generation, growing up on comfortable lies. I will publish it. All of it. Rixtal nodded. Good. Then my work is done. 3 days later, Hana released the interviews on underground networks. The government moved to arrest her, but copies had already spread too far. Millions of young Velkari watched as Rixtal explained the truth about the war. They saw the classified documents. They learned about Red Harbor, Fortress Gamma, and the peace that was really a surrender. The government banned the interviews officially, but everyone had already seen them. The truth was out. A whole generation now knew that everything they had been taught was a lie. The humans had not been defeated. The Velkari had not been generous victors. It had been a desperate peace negotiated by a losing side, trying to save itself from extinction. Rixtal was placed under house arrest, but he became a symbol, a veteran brave enough to tell the truth. Young Velkari began demanding real history, demanding accountability, demanding to know why they had been lied to for 3 decades. 2 months after the final interview aired, Hana received a message from an unknown sender. The message was simple, just a few words, but she knew immediately who had sent it. Thank you for helping them understand. We remember every soldier who faced us, and we hope they all found peace. The message was signed. Captain Bora Kim, retired, Human Embassy. Hana stared at the message for a long time. Captain Bora, the defender of Outpost 7, the soldier who had held off 300 Velkari with 32 humans. She was alive. She was working at the embassy. And she had been watching. Hana thought about everything Rixtal had told her, about human determination, about their refusal to surrender, about their capacity for revenge and their willingness to show mercy, about how they had won a war not through superior technology, but through sheer unwillingness to lose. She thought about the peace that was really a surrender, the peace that her people had needed because the alternative was mutual destruction, the peace that humans had granted not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to be merciful. And she understood finally why Rixtal had needed to tell his story. The fourth interview did not take place in the studio. Rixtal invited Hana to his home, a fortified compound far outside the city. As her transport approached, she saw walls, sensors, and automated defenses. It looked more like a military base than a private residence. Rixtal met her at the gate. "I cannot talk about Fortress Gamma in a public place. Too many people, too many places for someone to hide. Here I control the environment. Here I feel safe, or as safe as I can feel." They sat in a room with no windows. Multiple screens showed views of the property from different security cameras. Hana realized that even now, 30 years after the war, Rixtal lived like he was still under siege. She set up her recording equipment. "Tell me about Fortress Gamma." Rixtal stared at one of the security screens. Fortress Gamma was humanity's masterpiece of defensive warfare. It was built inside an asteroid. The humans had carved out the interior and turned it into a military base. 5,000 human soldiers lived there with enough supplies to last for years. Our high command decided that Fortress Gamma had to be destroyed. It was too close to important shipping lanes. It threatened our supply lines. They assembled a siege fleet, 200 warships, 50,000 soldiers, the best equipment we had. We thought we could not fail. But you did fail, Hana said softly. Not at first. We started with a bombardment. For 6 weeks we hit that asteroid with everything we had. Plasma cannons, missiles, kinetic weapons. We poured enough energy into that rock to destroy a small moon. We thought surely the fortress would collapse. Surely the humans would surrender or evacuate. They did neither. Colonel Jinho, the fortress commander, had designed the defenses brilliantly. His chief engineer, Major Yuna, had created systems that captured energy from our attacks. They redirected our weapons fire into power generators. After 6 weeks of bombardment, the fortress had more power than when we started. Hana shook her head in disbelief. They used your attacks to make themselves stronger? Yes, we were feeding them energy, making them more powerful with every shot. It was insane. It was brilliant. It was very human. After 6 weeks, the bombardment stopped. We prepared for ground assault. We sent 50,000 soldiers into that asteroid. We thought with such numbers we could overwhelm any defense. We were wrong. Rixtal pulled up a holographic map on one of his screens. It showed the interior of an asteroid carved into a maze of tunnels and chambers. This was Fortress Gamma, look at it. Every tunnel was a trap. Every chamber was a killing zone. Every junction was defended from multiple angles. The humans had spent years preparing this place. I led my battalion into Section 7. It was supposed to be a supply area. Low security. An easy target. We spent 3 weeks fighting for control of that one section. 3 weeks, for less than a kilometer of tunnels. What made it so difficult? Hana asked. Everything. The humans did not just defend. They attacked. Captain Junho led rapid response teams that struck us from unexpected directions. We would be advancing down a tunnel and suddenly humans would appear behind us, or above us, or below us. The entire fortress was designed with hidden passages that only they knew about. They controlled the environment completely. The gravity, the air pressure, the lighting, the temperature, everything. They would turn off the lights and attack us in darkness. They had sensors that could see in the dark. We did not. They would increase the gravity in a corridor until we could barely move, then attack while we were slow and tired. They depressurized entire sections to force us to retreat. They flooded areas with toxic gas. They sealed bulkheads behind us, trapping us in dead-end corridors. They made the fortress itself into a weapon. Rixtal's hands clenched. I lost half my battalion in those 3 weeks. Not in one big battle. Just slowly, constantly. Every hour we lost soldiers. Every corridor cost us blood, and we barely advanced at all. Other battalions had similar experiences. Some had it worse. The fortress was designed to be breached. Colonel Jinho wanted us to come inside. He knew we would eventually penetrate the outer defenses, but once we were inside, we were in his world, playing by his rules, and we were losing. After 4 months of fighting inside the fortress, we had captured maybe 20% of it, but we had lost 30,000 soldiers. 30,000! And the humans still controlled the critical areas, still had supplies, still had the will to fight. Hana was writing rapidly. What happened next? The High Command ordered a withdrawal. After 9 months of siege and 4 months of interior fighting, they pulled us out. We retreated. We left Fortress Gamma in human hands. We had lost 30,000 soldiers and 68 ships. The fortress never fell. But surely the humans suffered heavy losses too. They did. About 2,000 casualties. 2,000 against our 30,000. And they still held the fortress. They still controlled that asteroid. They had won. Rixtal turned off the holographic display. Do you understand what Fortress Gamma meant? It meant that humans could turn any location into an impregnable stronghold. Given time and resources, they could make any world, any station, any asteroid into another Fortress Gamma. The battle consumed so many of our resources that we could not launch any major offensives for 2 years. 2 years. 1 fortress. 1 asteroid. It cost us 2 years of the war. Do you see? The humans did not need to defeat our entire fleet. They just needed to make every battle so expensive that we ran out of resources before they ran out of worlds to defend. After Fortress Gamma, our strategic planners realized something terrible. They realized that humans treated every defeat as a learning experience. Every battle we won taught them how to fight better next time. They adapted faster than we could develop new tactics. They learned from their mistakes. They never made the same mistake twice. Worse, they were willing to accept casualties that we found unacceptable. A Valkyrie commander would retreat if losses exceeded 20%. A human commander would fight until losses exceeded 80%. They simply did not calculate warfare the way we did. Hana looked around the fortified room. Is that why you live like this? Because of what you learned at Fortress Gamma? Partly. Fighting inside that fortress changed how I think about security. I learned that walls are not enough. Weapons are not enough. You need to control the environment. You need multiple layers of defense. You need to think like the enemy. You need to expect attacks from any direction. The humans taught me that. They taught me to be paranoid. They taught me to trust nothing. They taught me that safety is an illusion. He looked at Hana directly. We lost the war at Fortress Gamma. We just did not realize it yet. When the High Command saw what humans could do with a single asteroid, they understood the future. If the war continued, humans would turn every world they controlled into another fortress. Every attack would cost us more than we could afford. Every victory would be too expensive to matter. We could not win a war of attrition against an enemy who treated every position as expendable if it hurt us more than them. We could not outlast an enemy who was willing to suffer more than us. We could not defeat an enemy who learned from every battle and adapted faster than we could counter. So what did you do? Hana asked quietly. We sued for peace. Not because we were generous. Not because we were merciful, but because we realized that continuing the war would destroy us. That is what I will tell you about in our final interview. I will tell you the truth about how the war ended. I will show you the classified documents that prove everything your government has told you is a lie. Come back one more time. Come back and I will tell you why we begged the humans for peace. Why we agreed to terms that favored them. Why we gave them everything they asked for. Come back and I will tell you the most frightening thing I learned during the war. What is that? Hana asked. Rixtal stood and walked her to the door. The security systems tracked their movement with silent efficiency. The most frightening thing I learned is that humans are reasonable. They will negotiate. They will compromise. They will show mercy. But if you push them too far, if you threaten their survival, they will do whatever it takes to win, even if it means burning the galaxy down. Even if it means mutual destruction, they will not surrender. They will not submit. They will fight until there is nothing left. And after 8 years of war, we finally understood that they were not bluffing. They meant every word. That is why we chose peace, because the alternative was extinction for both our species, and the humans made it very clear that they were willing to accept that outcome if necessary. Hana arrived at the studio early for the 3rd interview. She had spent the week searching for any information about Red Harbor. She found nothing. Not in public records, not in historical databases, Not even in restricted military archives she could access. It was as if Red Harbor had never existed. When Rixtal arrived, he was not alone. With him was an older Velkari woman carrying a medical bag. "This is Dr. Velmora," Rixtal said. "She is my psychiatrist. She will stay during this interview. Red Harbor is difficult for me to talk about." Dr. Velmora nodded to Hana and sat in a chair near the door. Her presence was quiet but reassuring. Hana started the recording. "Tell me about Red Harbor." Rixtal was quiet for a long time. His hands gripped the armrests tightly. Finally he spoke. Red Harbor was a human civilian space station. It had no military value, no weapons, no soldiers, just civilians. 4,000 people, families, children, workers, scientists, artists, just people trying to live their lives. Admiral Krelvas commanded our fleet in that sector. He was frustrated. The humans were winning too many battles. They were costing us too many ships and soldiers. So he decided to target Red Harbor. He thought if we killed enough civilians, the humans would surrender to save the rest of their people. Hana felt cold. He attacked civilians on purpose? Yes, he destroyed Red Harbor completely. 4,000 humans died. The Admiral was proud of what he had done. He thought it was a brilliant tactical move. He thought the humans would beg for peace. Rixtal's voice became hollow. He was wrong. So very wrong. What happened? For 3 days, nothing happened. The humans said nothing. No protests. No threats. No diplomatic messages. Just silence. We thought maybe the Admiral was right. Maybe we had broken their spirit. Then, exactly 72 hours after Red Harbor was destroyed, something impossible happened. Admiral Krelvis's flagship lost all power, right in the middle of our fleet, surrounded by 200 warships, protected by the best security systems in the Velkari military. The ship just went dark. Hana leaned forward. How? We still do not know. The flagship drifted for 6 hours. No power, no communications, no life support. We tried to dock with it, but every docking port was sealed. We tried to cut through, but something was jamming our tools. We could only wait. Finally, backup power came online. We boarded the ship. We found the crew locked in their quarters. They were alive but terrified. They said the power had gone out suddenly. They heard noises in the corridors, footsteps, voices speaking in human languages. But when they tried to investigate, every door was sealed. We found Admiral Krelvas in his command chamber. He was dead, but not from violence. Not really. What do you mean? Hana asked. The medical examination said his heart failed. But we know what really killed him. Fear. The humans had put him in his command chamber and sealed it. They left him a display showing a countdown. 6 hours. He sat there alive knowing that humans were on his ship, knowing they could kill him at any time, knowing he was completely helpless. For 6 hours he waited to die. Rixtal's voice shook. When the countdown reached 0, the display showed a message. Just one sentence. 4,000. We will remember every single one. His heart stopped from pure terror. How did the humans get on the ship? Hana asked. How did they get past all the security? We never found out. We searched the entire ship. We found no signs of how they entered or how they left. It was like they were ghosts. We found out later that it was a special forces unit. Their call sign was Ghost Squad. Their leader was Sergeant Tejo. But Ghost Squad did not stop with the Admiral. Over the next week, 7 more Velkari officers died. All of them had been involved in the Red Harbor attack. All of them died in supposedly secure locations. All of them died the same way. Locked in a room. Given time to think about what they had done. Left with a countdown and a message about the 4,000 dead civilians. Hana felt sick. This is not in any records. Of course not. The government covered it up. They could not admit that human special forces were moving through our fleet like ghosts. They could not admit that we could not protect our own commanders. I was part of the security team hunting Ghost Squad. We had hundreds of soldiers searching for them. We set traps. We monitored every ship. We checked every person. For 3 weeks we found nothing. They were invisible. Then, on the 21st day, every communication system in the fleet received a message. It came from Corporal Jaiwan, Ghost Squad's technology expert. The message was simple. Stop targeting civilians, or we will systematically eliminate your entire command structure. You cannot hide from us. You cannot protect yourselves from us. We are everywhere and we remember everything. What did the High Command do? They issued immediate orders. No more attacks on civilian targets ever under any circumstances. The penalty for violating that order was execution. They were that afraid. Rixtal looked at his hands. After Red Harbor, everything changed. We realized that humans had rules, lines that should not be crossed. If you fought their soldiers, they would fight back hard. But if you killed their civilians, they would hunt you down no matter where you hid. They would find you. And they would make you regret it. Ghost Squad disappeared after that message. We never found them. We never caught them. They just vanished like they had never existed. But every Velkari officer remembered them. Every commander knew that if they crossed that line, Ghost Squad or someone like them would come for them. Dr. Velmora stood up and moved closer to Rixtal. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. He was shaking. "Do you need to stop?" Hana asked quietly. "No." Rixtal took a deep breath. "You need to understand what Red Harbor taught us. It taught us that humans are not just brave. They are not just stubborn. They are also capable of perfect, calculated revenge. They do not get angry and attack wildly. They get angry and plan, they wait. They strike precisely where it hurts most. After Red Harbor, our soldiers were afraid. Not just afraid of human soldiers. Afraid of the dark. Afraid of shadows. Afraid that humans might be watching them, waiting for them to make a mistake. Even now, 30 years later, I still check the corners of every room I enter. I still look over my shoulder. I still wonder if a human is watching me." Hana looked at the shadows in the corners of her studio. She had not noticed before, but Rixtal had positioned his chair so he could see every entrance and exit. His eyes moved constantly, watching, checking. "Is there more?" she asked. "Much more," Rixtal said. "But I need time before I can tell you the next part. Next week, I will tell you about Fortress Gamma. I will tell you about the siege that cost us 30,000 soldiers. I will tell you about the day we realized that humans can turn any location into an impregnable fortress. I will tell you about the battle that broke our offensive capability and showed us we could never win a war of attrition against humans." He stood slowly. Dr. Velmora stayed close to him. "But Hana, I want you to think about something. Red Harbor was the worst thing we did during the war. It was a crime. The humans had every right to be angry. But look at what they did. They did not bomb our cities. They did not kill our civilians. They hunted down the specific people responsible and made them pay. That is the difference between us and them. We targeted 4,000 innocent people to make a strategic point. They targeted 8 guilty officers to send a message. They showed us that they could be merciful even in their anger, that they had rules even when seeking revenge, and that made them more frightening than ever. Because it meant they were not monsters. They were disciplined. They were controlled. They were dangerous." As Rixtal left with Dr. Velmora, Hana sat alone in her studio. She thought about Red Harbor, about the 4,000 civilians, about the 8 officers who died in fear, about the message that humans had sent. She understood now why this story was buried. It showed that the Velkari had committed a war crime, and it showed that the humans had responded with surgical precision rather than blind rage. It showed that everything her generation had been taught was wrong. The humans were not the monsters. They were not the aggressors. They were the ones fighting for survival against an enemy who would kill civilians to gain strategic advantage, and they were very, very good at making their enemies regret it. 1 week later, Hana returned to the studio. She had spent the entire week thinking about Rixtal's words. She had also done research. The official military records mentioned Outpost 7 only briefly. They said it had been destroyed by orbital bombardment. A quick, clean victory, but as she set up her equipment, she wondered if that was another lie. Rixtal arrived carrying a small box. He set it on the table between them. Inside were old data chips, a worn combat knife with a strange design, and several photographs printed on actual paper. Such old technology was rare now. "These are from Outpost 7, he said, touching the items with his remaining hands. "I have kept them all these years. I do not know why. Perhaps I needed proof that it really happened. That I did not imagine it." Hana started the recording. "Tell me about Outpost 7. Rixtal picked up the knife. It was a simple weapon. No power cells, no advanced technology. Just sharpened metal. This belonged to Captain Bora. She was the human commander at Outpost 7. After the battle, I found it in the rubble. I kept it to remind myself. Remind yourself of what? That simple things can be more dangerous than advanced weapons. That determination matters more than technology." He set the knife down carefully. Outpost 7 was a mining station on an asteroid. It had 32 human soldiers defending it. My battalion had 300 soldiers. We had tanks. We had air support. We had everything we needed. Our commanders told us the battle would take less than 1 hour. They said the humans would surrender when they saw our force. They were wrong. The battle lasted 4 days. Hana leaned forward. How was that possible? Rixtel made that sound again, the one that was almost a laugh but held only pain. That is what we asked ourselves every hour of those 4 days. How were they still fighting? How were they still alive? Why would they not surrender? He pulled out one of the data chips and inserted it into a reader. A holographic display appeared showing a tactical map. This was the outpost. The humans had set up their defenses in layers. When we broke through one layer, there was another. And another. They had prepared for everything. Captain Bora was brilliant. She knew exactly where to place her soldiers. Every position covered every other position. When we attacked one area, we were exposed to fire from 2 or 3 other areas. Our superior numbers meant nothing because we could not use them all at once. Rixtel pointed to a section of the map. On the second day, we finally broke through their outer defenses. We lost 30 soldiers doing it, but we got inside the main facility. We thought we had won. We thought it was over. It was not over, Hana guessed, not even close. The humans had turned the entire facility into a death trap. Every corridor was mined. Every room was a kill zone. They were waiting for us. They wanted us to come inside. He closed his eyes, remembering. We lost 40 more soldiers in the first hour inside the facility. And still the humans kept fighting. Their ammunition was running low, so they started using our own weapons. They would wait for us to die, then take our guns and use them against us. By the third day, they had no more bullets at all, so they made explosives from mining equipment. They turned tools into weapons. They used the environment against us. They collapsed tunnels. They vented atmosphere. They did things we had never seen in warfare. Hana was writing furiously in her notes. What about their casualties? How many humans died? By the end of the third day, we had killed 18 of them.
Half their force.
We thought surely now they would surrender. We broadcast a message. We offered them medical treatment. We offered them prisoner status with full rights. We begged them to stop fighting. What did they say? Nothing. They just kept fighting. It was like trying to fight a machine that could not be turned off. No matter how many we killed, the rest kept coming. Rixtel pulled out a photograph. It showed a human woman in damaged combat armor. She had short dark hair and cold eyes. This is Captain Bora. We found this picture in her command post. Look at her eyes. There is no fear there. No doubt. Only determination. On the 4th day, we finally reached their command center. It was deep inside the asteroid. We had lost over 100 soldiers by then. We were exhausted. We were scared. But we had them trapped. There was nowhere left for them to run. Rixtel's voice dropped to almost a whisper. When we breached the command center, we found 14 humans, 14. Half of them were wounded. They were low on everything, food, water, medical supplies. But do you know what they had plenty of? Hana shook her head. Explosives. They had wired the entire command center to explode. They were ready to blow up the entire facility, killing all of us and themselves rather than surrender. Lieutenant Hyun, Bora's second-in-command, sent us a message. I still remember every word. He recited from memory. You can kill us, but you will have to dig us out of these walls first. Every meter you take will cost you blood. Every room you enter might be your grave. We will not surrender. We will not retreat. If you want this outpost, come and take it, but know that we will make you pay for every centimeter. The studio was completely silent. Hana could hear her own heartbeat. What did you do? She finally asked. We withdrew. My commander ordered a full retreat. We left Outpost 7 and fell back to our previous positions. We had superior numbers. We had superior weapons. We had superior technology. But we could not defeat 14 wounded humans who refused to quit. The official records say we destroyed the outpost, Hana said. The official records are lies, Rixtel repeated. 2 hours after we withdrew, human reinforcements arrived. They relieved the defenders. Captain Bora and her soldiers held that outpost for 4 days against a force 10 times their size. And they won. He picked up the knife again. This knife is simple. It is old technology, but it represents something that we Velkari did not understand. Humans do not need advanced weapons to be dangerous. They do not need superior numbers. All they need is a reason to fight and the will to never stop. After Outpost 7, the military changed its estimates. They realized that every battle against humans would cost us far more than expected. They realized that humans did not calculate war the same way we did. For us, war was about acceptable losses and strategic advantage. For humans, war was personal. It was about never giving up no matter the cost. Hana looked at her notes. Everything Rixtal was telling her contradicted the official history. What happened to Captain Bora? Rixtal's expression became even more grim. She survived the war. She became a legend among human forces. But that is not why her name haunts me. Her name haunts me because of what happened next. Because of Red Harbor. What is Red Harbor? Hana asked. Rixtal packed up his items slowly. Red Harbor is why we learned that humans do not just fight to win. Sometimes they fight to punish. Sometimes they fight to send a message. And the message they sent at Red Harbor made even our bravest commanders afraid. He stood up to leave. Come back next week. But before you do, understand something. The story of Red Harbor is not in any official records. The government has buried it completely. What I'm about to tell you could get both of us arrested. Are you sure you want to know the truth? Hana did not hesitate. Yes, I want to know everything. Rixtal nodded slowly. Then next week I will tell you about the worst war crime of the conflict. I will tell you what happens when you make humans angry. I will tell you why, after Red Harbor, no Velkari commander ever targeted human civilians again. He walked to the door, then paused. Hana, I need you to understand. What I saw at Outpost 7 was impressive. It was terrifying. But it was still war. Red Harbor was different. Red Harbor showed us that humans are capable of something much more frightening than courage. They are capable of perfectly calculated revenge. The recording studio was quiet except for the soft hum of equipment. Commander Rixtal sat in a chair that was too small for his large body. His forearms rested on the armrests, but his hands kept moving nervously. The Velkari veteran had fought in the war against humans 30 years ago. Now he was here to talk about it. Across from him sat Hana, a young Velkari filmmaker. She was much younger than Rixtal. She had never seen the war. She only knew what the government had told her people. The war was over. The Velkari had won. The humans had been defeated. That was the story everyone knew. Hana pressed a button and the cameras started recording. Red lights blinked on around the room. Commander Rixtal, thank you for agreeing to this interview, Hana said. Her voice was calm and professional. Can you tell me about your service during the war? Rixtal nodded slowly. His compound eyes looked tired. I served for 8 years. I was a company commander. I led 300 soldiers. His voice was deep and rough. What was your first battle like? Hana asked. Rixtal was quiet for a long moment. He stared at something Hana could not see. My first real battle was at Talon Station. Our intelligence said there was a small human patrol there. Maybe 10 or 15 ships. We brought 60 warships. We thought it would be easy. And was it easy? Hana leaned forward. No. Rixtal's mandibles clicked together. It was a sign of stress in his species. Nothing about fighting humans was ever easy. We had better ships. We had better weapons. We had better shields. We had more soldiers. But the humans did not care about any of that. Hana looked confused. I don't understand. If you had all those advantages, how could it be difficult? Rixtal made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it held no humor. That is what every Velkari thought at the start of the war. We did not understand humans. We thought war was about numbers and technology. We were wrong. He shifted in his seat. At Talon Station, we surrounded the human ships. We told them to surrender. They refused. We attacked. They fought back. When their shields failed, they kept fighting. When their weapons broke, they used our weapons against us. When their ships were damaged, they crashed them into our ships. They died rather than surrender, Hana asked. They died fighting. Rixtal corrected her. There is a difference. We lost 12 ships that day, against a force that should not have been able to destroy even one of our vessels. The humans lost everything, but they took 12 of our ships with them. That was when I first understood that this war would not be what we expected. Hana made notes on her tablet. The official records say that Talon Station was a minor skirmish. They say we had no significant losses there. Rixtal's eyes focused on her sharply. The official records are lies. The government does not want your generation to know the truth about the war. They do not want you to know how close we came to losing. Losing. Hana's voice rose. But we won the war. The humans sued for peace. We granted them mercy. Rixtal was quiet again, his 3 remaining hands clenched into fists. The 4th arm, the one he had lost in the war, ended in a stump covered by synthetic skin. Outside the studio, a siren wailed. It was just a public transport alert. But the sound made Rixtal jump from his chair. His large body moved with surprising speed. He pressed himself against the wall, his eyes darting around the room. His breathing came fast and hard. Hana stood up, alarmed. "Commander? Are you all right?" It took almost a full minute for Rixtal to calm down. He slowly returned to his chair. His hands were shaking. "I apologize. That sound, it reminded me of human alarm systems. When you heard that sound, it meant they were coming. It meant people were about to die." Hana sat down slowly. She had read about war trauma. She had studied it in school. But seeing it in person was different. This was a decorated commander, a hero of the Velkari military, and a simple siren had reduced him to panic. "Perhaps we should stop for today," she suggested gently. "No." Rixtal's voice was firm. "No, we continue. You asked me to tell you about the war. You asked me to tell you the truth. That is what I will do. But you must promise me something." "What?" "You must promise to show this recording, even if the government tries to stop you. Even if they threaten you. The young people of our world need to know the truth. They need to understand what humans really are." Hana hesitated. What he was asking could get her in serious trouble. The government controlled all information about the war. "I promise," she said finally. Rixtal nodded. "Good. Then let me tell you about the worst day of my life. Let me tell you about a single human soldier who held off my entire platoon for 6 hours." "One soldier?" Hana asked. "Against how many of your troops?" 43, Rixtal said quietly. 43 trained Velkari soldiers with full combat gear and heavy weapons. One human with a damaged rifle and a broken arm. For 6 hours we could not advance past his position. He killed 11 of my soldiers. He wounded 19 more. And when we finally killed him, do you know what we found?" Hana shook her head. He had been shot 4 times. He had burns over half his body. His armor was destroyed. His rifle had only 7 bullets left, but he did not stop. He did not surrender. He did not run away. He kept fighting until we put a plasma bolt through his head, and even then we were afraid to approach his body for another hour. "Why?" Hana whispered. "Because we had learned by then that dead humans were still dangerous. They booby-trapped their own bodies. They set up their positions to explode when we tried to take them. They made sure that even in death they would hurt us." The room was silent except for the quiet hum of the recording equipment. Hana stared at the old commander. Everything he was saying contradicted what she had been taught. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be inferior. That was why the Velkari had won so easily. But looking at Rixtal, at his missing arm and his haunted eyes, she began to wonder if everything she knew was wrong. "What else do you want to tell me?" she asked. Rixtal looked directly into the camera. "I want to tell you about Captain Bora. I want to tell you about Outpost 7. I want to tell you about the day we learned that humans do not know how to surrender. I want to tell you about the battle that should have taken 1 hour but lasted 4 days. I want to tell you why 300 Velkari soldiers could not defeat 32 humans." He paused. "But most importantly, I want to tell you why we begged the humans for peace. Not because we were merciful, not because we were generous, but because we were terrified, because we finally understood that fighting humans was like fighting a force of nature. You could hurt them, you could kill them, but you could never make them stop." Hana felt a chill run through her body. "And you will tell me all of this?" "I will tell you everything," Rixtal promised. "Every terrible, bloody nightmare detail. And when I am done, you will understand why veterans like me cannot sleep at night. You will understand why we still check the shadows. You will understand why the word human makes us afraid 30 years after the war ended." He leaned back in his chair, suddenly looking very old and very tired. "Come back next week, Hana. Come back and I will tell you about Outpost 7. Come back and I will tell you about the day I watched 32 humans break my battalion. Come back and I will show you why we lost the war." Hana turned off the recording equipment. Her hands were shaking slightly. She had come here expecting a simple interview. Stories of glory and victory. Instead, she had found something much darker and much more frightening. She had found the truth.